functionally retarded mouth breathers, and gentlemen. I had a little tiff. This is a while back. I'm just getting around to putting this all up now. I noticed one of... Now, I wasn't going to mention this until the end of the video, but this little fella, this tiny man, by the name, what's his name? Hmasterpiece of some 85 poop or something. I don't know what the heck. He's one of Old Fart Rants' little, he's like an autistic Pavlovian dog that goes around just vomiting forth the same crap. Old Fart Rants vomits forth. See, what happens is Rachel Mandow vomits it out of his mouth, and then Old Fart Rants catches that and vomits it out, and then Hmasterpiece of catches it, and then he vomits it forth as well. So it's just kind of like... regurgitate, like a cow chewing the cud, that type of deal. A lot of regurgitation. And he was on a video, and of course you'll see that he mentioned that I left Old Fart Rants' page. He embarrassed me and I left. No, actually I got blocked. See my Old Fart Rants refutation station. And you'll see that this guy, it's a just so story. They do this a lot. But anyways, this little feller was on a video running his mouth, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to engage this little man. And he says, some idiot named Jessica Moore, some tween or whatever its name was, Fox News taking everything out of context to scare everyday Americans as usual. No details, of course, because who does details? And then Hmasterpiece of, well, I'll call him Hamas for short. He says, because it scares the hell out of the corporate masters. Notice they keep saying Obamacare tax. What? Obamacare tax? And I was like, well, I didn't read the entire legislation, but I read a lot of it. So I asked the little man, I said, you don't know about the medical device tax or the Cadillac tax or the Medicare surtax, do you, little one? Now notice the Omnibus Bill that was passed shortly after Paul Ryan unfortunately became Speaker repealed some of this. But this was long before that, this conversation I had with this little fella. And he goes, you saved my comment, ha ha, I'll remember you. You are the nutcase that posted on Old Fart Rants' page until he embarrassed you so bad you finally left. Actually, I got blocked. You have been destroyed so many times, notice the generalization, by so many YouTube channels, it isn't even fun anymore. I think he's looking for a way out. And as you'll see, he did get a way out. Save that one as well, Pops. By the way, it's called Screenshot. He really got me good with that one, didn't he? So I asked him again. Hey, little fella, I will give you one more chance, Burger Boy. And yes, I will take fries with that. You were yammering about what Obamacare tax, so I'm assuming you did not read the legislation and are not aware of the Medicare surtax, the Cadillac tax, just to name a few, the medical device tax. One more chance, little one. And he comes back, it took 2 months and that's all you got? 'Cause I'm not online every day, as you are. And then he conflates the Medicare regular payroll tax, because the tax on Medicare, this Medicare surtax that I was telling the little one about, it was about for capital gains rates. It was for a capital gain, which means you actually have to own something, and that piece of junk you drive, you sell that, that's not going to be a capital gain. And then you had the Medicare tax, which is actually a 3.8% tax on people, single people making over 200 grand and married over 250. And you're not in that category, little one. So he conflates it. He thought it was just a regular payroll tax that the floor sweeper pays. You know, what is it? A 2.9% employer and employee. So that's what all he has. And I had a note there. He whines because I didn't respond quick enough. He's confusing the HI payroll tax with the extra tax on capital gains. So no, he didn't read the legislation. Then I came back to try to find him again, and his comments were gone. This is what the thread looks like when I am not logged in. You can see his comment up there, and then my response, and of course nothing. He bailed out. And the reason he bailed out is because he can't see my comments anymore because he blocked me. And this is what the thread looks like when I am logged in. When I'm logged in, he's not there. So, hmasterpiece of, or excuse me, Hamas for short, blocked me. Because the little fella was going to get owned. I guess, did Old Fart Rants warn you not to engage me? Here's the list of Obamacare taxes. Raises the capital gains rate by 3.8%. We'll be going over two pieces of legislation. The original Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act and the reconciliation legislation, budget reconciliation legislation, shortly passed after Scott Brown became a senator from Massachusetts. And the Democrats no longer had 60 votes, so they used budget reconciliation, which scares them because I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but that means the Republicans can use budget reconciliation to get rid of Obamacare, which means they only need 51 votes. Uh-oh. Anyways, Hmasterpiece, Hamas, if you're listening to this, listen up, son, because you're going to learn something, little man. And when you put up your video response, you better be very careful in how you word it. Raises the capital gains rate by 3.8% from 20 to 23.8%. The grand budget deal in January 2013 let the capital gains rate lapse back to 20% where it was when Bill Clinton left office. And the capital gains applies to couples earning over 250 grand, singles earning over 200 grand. Then you have the tanning tax. You never heard of that? Then you have the 0.9% Medicare tax on self-employed earnings above 200 grand for a single person, above 250 grand for married, making it a cumulative 3.8% on earnings above that threshold. You have the 2.3% excise tax, and all the links are below, of course, on gross sales of medical devices. You have the Cadillac tax, which was repealed by the Omnibus Bill, or delayed, I should say. Cadillac tax is a 40% tax on all health care plans with individual coverage worth more than $10,200 and family coverage worth more than 24 grand, set to go in effect in 2018. But it was delayed by the Omnibus Bill a while back. Again, all the links are below. You can look this up yourself. And then you have the annual fee on health insurance providers. So this idiot, obviously what he's doing is he's just regurgitating crap that someone else regurgitated from MSNBC. I have all the roll call votes for the Omnibus Bill, which was in the 114th Congress. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's get down to some details, something Hamas cannot do. Okay, before we get into the main event of this, Old Fart Rants, if you're listening, and Hmasterpiece, if you're listening, this video, I'm just going to make reference to it when I do a video on Old Fart Rants' smart and savvy viewers. I'll make a reference to this. I have over 30 examples right now, so is there a couple of more that want to, test the waters maybe? I hope so. The two pieces of legislation I'm going to be going over, again, all the links are underneath the video as per usual, is the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act and the Healthcare and Education Reconciliation Act of 2010. Those are the two pieces of legislation that we'll be going over. Now, I'm not going to read all this off. Freeze the video if you need to, if you want to read all of this. I'm putting it up just so you know I looked at it and read it. So, Hmasterpiece, or Hamas for short, said, what Obamacare tax? There's a whole bunch of them, you blithering idiot, you dumbass. This is the Obamacare. I refer to Obamacare as Obamacare and reconciliation as reconciliation, which you didn't know of because you're a dumbass. You've got the excise tax on high-cost employer-sponsored health coverage. Oh my gosh, that's a tax. Excise tax on high-cost employer-sponsored health coverage. Imposition of tax, blah blah blah. Excess benefit purposes of the this is the Cadillac tax. There's hereby imposed a tax equal to 40% of the excess benefit, whatever they determine the excess benefit to be. Monthly excess amount get down to the applicable dollar amount. Now, this was amended by the reconciliation bill because it says in the case of 2013, it was going to happen a lot earlier. In the case of an employee with self-only coverage, $8,500, and 2, in the case of an employee with coverage other than self-only coverage, $23,000. This is still the Obamacare legislation, and you can go through this if you want to. If an employee is resident in a high-cost state on the first day of any month beginning in 2013, 2014, or 2015, and it was going to happen a lot earlier in the Obamacare legislation, but the reconciliation legislation, this is the Cadillac tax again, delayed it. So here we have the reconciliation legislation. In general, section 49801 of the Internal Revenue Code of blah 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 is added by section 9001 of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act and amended by section 10901 of the reconciliation legislation. This is where I said they delayed it by striking 2013 each place it appears in the heading and the text and inserting 2018. This is because the union started, we got these gold-plated healthcare plans that are running our business into the ground. We can't afford to pay for this crap, so you guys better do something about it, because the unions were going bonkers. Again, this is the reconciliation legislation, and they delayed it till 2018. So Donald Trump and the Republicans can deal with it, but then the Omnibus Bill that Ryan helped shepherd through the House, and then the Senate passed it, that delayed it even further, because the Cadillac tax is about as popular as a turd in the punch bowl. Reconciliation. This is, again, I made a note. Hey, Hamas. This is the Obamacare Cadillac tax, son. So you can see by striking 2013 and inserting 2018, by striking 8,500 and inserting 10,200, by striking 2,300 and inserting 27,500. So they tried to lessen the blow that this would cause the union retards. Then you've got, this is the Obamacare medical device tax. This particular section was repealed, and then they replaced it with something else in the reconciliation bill, but not that you knew that. Annual fee on medical device manufacturers and importers. That's an Obamacare tax, stupid. Each covered entity engaged in the business of manufacturing or importing medical devices shall pay to the Secretary, not later than the annual payment date of each calendar year beginning after 2009, a fee in an amount to be determined under subsection B. This is retarded. The aggregate gross receipts of all covered entities from medical device sales taken into account during such preceding calendar year. And then you've got the percentage, not more than 5 million, 0%, more than 5 million, but not more than 25 million, 50%, more than 25 million, 100%. That's the percentage of gross receipts taken into account. The Secretary shall calculate the amount of each covered entity's fee for any calendar year under paragraph 1. Holy smokes, this is some legalese crap. Again, that's the Obamacare legislation. Now we're back to the reconciliation legislation. As you see, I had to read them both. Section 4191. There is hereby imposed on the sale of any taxable medical device by the manufacturer, producer, or importer a tax equal to 2.3% of the price for which so sold. The term taxable medical device means any device as defined in Section 201H of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act intended for human consumption. Although I'm not sure some of these idiots probably consume dog food. Exemptions. Such terms shall not include eyeglasses, contact lenses, hearing aids, and any other medical device determined by the Secretary. I thought Congress is supposed to write legislation. I didn't think the Secretary of HHS was in charge of all this. But maybe Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution got repealed too. I don't know. Any other medical device determined by the Secretary to be of a type which is generally purchased by the general public at retail for individual use. This is crap. Then you've got all the exceptions. Holy smokes. The amendments made by the section shall apply to sales after December 31st, 2012. Repeal of Section 9009 of Obamacare, effective date, Section 9009 of Obamacare, as amended by Section 10904 of the reconciliation legislation, is repealed, effective as of the date of enactment of that act. Again, that is the reconciliation legislation. Now we're back to Hussein Care, Obamacare. This section was altered by the reconciliation legislation. It was Section 9010, imposition of annual fee on health insurance providers, imposition of the fee, etc. You didn't know any of this, did you, stupid? Because you're an idiot. You are a lazy idiot. And here we're back to the reconciliation legislation, Section 1406, health insurance providers, Section 9010 of the Hussein Care, as amended by Section 10905, holy moly, of the reconciliation legislation. I was bored reading this, I have to admit. You got more. By inserting during calendar year in which the fee under this section is due in paragraph after risk. Oh, and you can go ahead and read all this crap for yourself. I can see why Nancy Pelosi said we got to pass it to find out what's in it, because she didn't even know. More than 80% of the gross revenues of which is received from government programs that target low-income, elderly, or disabled population under titles such and such. In any entity which is described in Section 501 of such code and which is established by an entity other than by an employer or employers for purposes of providing health care benefits. So there's the tax on health insurance providers as written in the reconciliation legislation. And then you've got the applicable amounts, years before 2019 and then years after 2018. In the case of any calendar year beginning after 2018, the applicable amount shall be the applicable amount for the preceding calendar year increased by the rate of premium growth. So, in other words, it's just a tax on health insurance providers, which will be passed on to the consumer. Wonderful job, guys. Good job. Very good. Effective date. This section shall apply to calendar years beginning after 2013. So, that was the Obamacare getting amended by the reconciliation legislation. That's a tax, stupid. And you said there was no such thing. Are you an idiot? Yes, this guy is an idiot. Now we are back on Obamacare. This is the excise tax on indoor tanning services in lieu of elective cosmetic medical procedures. Imposition of tax on indoor tanning services. Do you see that? There is hereby imposed on any indoor tanning service a tax equal to 10% of the amount paid for such service, whether paid by insurance or otherwise. And you've got a bunch of legalese crap. Payment of the tax. A tax imposed by this section shall be paid by the individual on whom the service is performed. So it won't be the business. It'll be the person getting the treatment. The individual directly. And you've got all the legalese crap. This is, it's crap. If you want a clerical amendment, the table of chapter for subtitle D of the Internal Revenue Code of 86, as amended by this act, is amended by inserting after the item relating to chapter 48 the following new item, and that has something to do with cosmetic services. Again, that's the Obamacare legislation again. Now we're back to the reconciliation legislation. Unearned income Medicare contribution. Now this is where he said, I've been paying a Medicare tax for 2 years. Wow, you've been working 2 years. That's got to be like a record for your family. Except he thought it was just the regular, which the ceiling on that was abolished under Clinton. So no matter what you make, Medicare is going to hit your income. So-called unearned income. In the case of an individual, there is hereby imposed, in addition to any other tax imposed by the subtitle for each taxable year, a tax equal to 3.8% of the lesser of, and then net investment income for such taxable year. Because Medicare's the HI payroll tax is 1.45% employer-employee, which equals 2.9. So then they're adding 0.9% to that. And you can see the threshold amount. In the case of a taxpayer making a joint return under Section 6013 or a surviving spouse, $250 grand. In the case of a married taxpayer filing a separate return, one half of the dollar amount determined under paragraph 1, and in any other case, $200 grand. The amendments made by this section shall apply with respect to remuneration received in taxable years beginning after December 31st, 2012. And our last one, modifications to additional hospital insurance tax on high income. The previous, this is still the reconciliation legislation, which was passed shortly after Obamacare. Here it is amended, let's see, Section 1401, as added by Section 9015 of this Act, is amended by striking 0.5% and inserting 0.9%, as I said, because I read this. And it starts in 2013. So I got through that rather quickly. Thank you. Again, if you want to, I have all the screenshots up. Freeze the video if you want to read all this garbage for yourself, because I didn't read through every bit of it, but I had little notes. This idiot, describes most American voters. There's a lot of idiots. You don't understand. You are not a well-informed individual, Hamas. You are a dumbass. And you probably did vote. I'm sure you just vote straight ticket Democrat because you're a moron. But you obviously don't have a freaking clue what you're talking about. Have a nice day, and don't thank me now.